Hello, welcome to the Discover SRQ video podcast. My name is Marius Mokan. I'm a local realtor here in the Sarasota area. Today we're going to sit down and talk to Jacob Neagle, who is an event painter. What is an event painter, you ask? Well, stick around to the end to find out. Today we have Jacob Neagle, and he has an awesome business, Jacob Event Painting, and he does something really interesting, which he actually paints live at events, sort of like weddings. And what other types of events do you do this for?
Yeah, great question, Marius. I paint just about everything. Corporate events, birthday parties. I have a quinceañera soon. It's like a Hispanic sweet 16.
Oh yeah.
Bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs. I even painted a murder mystery party once. That was pretty cool. So,
Oh wow.
yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just recently, I followed you and sort of did some behind the scenes photos and videos of you at a wedding at the beautiful Vinoy in downtown St. Petersburg. And man, they made that place really nice. They did a huge overhaul, renovation, and the place was amazing. The crowd was great. I've never seen someone so excited to see anyone attend a wedding. You seem to be like the guest of honor when you walk into a wedding. Is that normally the case, or was that just sort of my experience?
Yeah, no, that's definitely your experience, but for the most part, it's also my experience. I definitely look at myself as like a special guest to a wedding. Right. Typically, I guess I'm in the class of a unique vendor, but I and my clientele, typically the bride is the one that hires me, and they just treat me as a guest, like an extended piece of their family,
And at this particular wedding, you were hired by the bride's sister as a surprise to the bride and groom.
I was. So like I said, most of the time the bride hires me directly, but once in a while the groom, or like say in this case the maid of honor, who was the bride's sister, hired me as a surprise, and it went over amazingly. They loved it. It was a great time.
It was a hit, man.
Yeah.
How'd you get into live painting?
Yeah, great question. So it was 2011, October. I had a friend that worked at Abercrombie & Fitch corporate headquarters, and his boss was getting married at the Ringling Museum. At the time, I had already graduated Ringling College of Art and Design, and I had moved back up to Boston. And so my friend reached out to me later, but it was about a year or so after I graduated, and he reached out and asked me to paint his boss's wedding. Back then, I get this a lot, that they've never heard of wedding painting, but back then it was really niche, where the elitist, they did this. It's been going on for a while, and so anyways, at first I thought it was kind of a cheesy idea, but I agreed to it. They flew me down, and I loved it, and I just have this natural proclivity of I guess entertaining people with my art, but also being excellent under pressure. Most artists they're reclusive to people watching them do art, but I think that's where I stand out, because I actually thrive under the pressure.
Yeah, man, you were like so interactive with everyone. Yeah. People were walking up to look at your painting as you were painting. You were painting so quickly too. I couldn't believe that you were so social. We even ate. We even stopped and ate. Like, I can't believe that you paint so fast. Like, how would you describe your style of painting? Because you do that really quickly, but you still add so much detail in there.
Yeah, it didn't always look that excellent when I first started out. It was so I've always been an artist, and that's why that initial friend from that first wedding, he reached out to me, because I was known as the painter. But as like anything, you evolve and adapt over time. So my current style is, I guess you would call it painterly realism or impressionistic realism. It's realistic, but there's still a style to it that I guess is more my own. But it's not so polished and rendered where you still see brush strokes.
Right. Like it still looks like
yeah.
a painting, but you stand far away, it looks like a real photograph almost.
Yeah.
But you get up close and you really see the strokes and little imperfections, which is good, you know.
Yeah. And that's the point. Like, I'm not to say compare myself to a photographer, like not to take the place of a photographer, but it's supposed to be like, as art, in my opinion, should be this unique take on reality or a moment. And so specifically my work, the bride and groom's faces typically are the most realistic. And then the figurative work is like representational of reality. It's not abstract per se. It's proportional in things. And then like it's usually the ambiance is kind of like you see it represent where they're at. But it's more painterly. So the faces are more realistic, but then it gets more painterly.
It reminds me of like photography, how you've got your subject in focus. You can see all the details, but the background is a little more blurred out. But
It's a great example.
Tell me about your process that you basically, I remember you kind of walking in, you introduce yourself and you take a photo of the bride and groom.
Right. So the wedding you went with me at was a little different because they didn't have a first look, and I was also a surprise. But typically I work it out where beforehand, when someone hires me, I ask all the right questions because I've done this for such a long time now that I'm prepared. I know what to expect going in, but I don't overly micromanage things. I'm still really easygoing. I just ask specific questions and I have flexibility. But in this case, I meet the bride and groom, and I have them pose, which only takes a few seconds. And I take they want their pose to be in the painting. So they have the option of choosing, like, kind of customizing their painting, you know, because it's gonna be their painting within a certain range of parameters. So usually it's the first look because it's just easier to meet them and get it over with. So then I typically don't start painting the live painting until I have the figurative reference, because my work is more focused around the figurative and then the background. Whereas some artists, some live painters, or actually I think a lot of them, they paint the background first and then they fit the bride and groom into the scene, which I'm not really keen on. I'm more focused. I think my painting philosophy is more the bride and groom are more important, so they come first and then the surroundings afterwards. So like I said, the first look, I usually get the figurative reference, and if that's not possible, if they're not doing a first look, which they did in that wedding, either meet them after their ceremony, or depending on if they want a reception scene, I meet them at their reception and get that pose then.
So like going back to the thing where this is very niche, it seems like sort of more of the elite could afford to have a painter at their wedding, right? Yeah. It seems like something like, you know, somebody say bougie.
Yeah, a little bit.
What packages do you offer? What's the pricing for something like this?
Yeah, great question. So before I took on the first wedding painting back in 2011, I was a gallery painter. I was in national exhibitions, and I was trying to be this professional gallery painter. And when I realized that this was really more for me, and I started doing more live painting, I tried to initially price my price points at,
gallery.
Yeah,
pricing.
gallery pricing for like legit art collectors. And it took me a while to realize, you know, yes, some people that are hiring me are really bougie per se, and they may actually be art collectors, but most of them are not, because most people, it's just like an extra thing that they enjoy for their wedding or whatever.
Right.
So once I got a better hold of that, it took me a few years. So I was too expensive first, but then I eventually lowered my pricing to accommodate, because my personality, I'm actually very down to earth, and you know, as much as I would like to be a millionaire doing what I want to do, I've realized that it wasn't a happy medium for my clientele and who I am too. So I lowered my price a lot, and I adjusted what I offer in my packages to be more affordable.
Right.
So it ranges anywhere from $1,000 all the way up to, say, $4,000, depending on the kind of painting they want and what add-ons and how far I'm going to travel. Because as you know, like, I'm not like as common as, say, a photographer. So, you know, there's not a lot of, say, live painters in this area. So I travel pretty far to,
Yeah, what areas
take
do you? Because I will put all of the information to
Sure.
a link to your website and your
Awesome.
social media and everything, so
Yeah.
people can check out the different packages and what your portfolio and whatnot. But
Awesome.
what areas are you serving? Basically, are you
Yeah.
more in the southwest area of Florida, or do you travel?
Yeah. A great question. I travel the country. I'm all over the place. So I'm based in the Sarasota, Florida area,
Right.
but I take on as many as I can locally, which would obviously be more cheaper or less expensive for clientele, and it's more reasonable to a lot of people. But if they're willing to fly me out, then yeah, I have extra packages for that. So.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
to cover your costs for
Yeah.
travel and lodging and whatnot.
But typically it's
Yeah.
Tampa, Orlando, and Miami are my biggest markets. So yeah.
What do you like most about what you do?
Oh, I think about this a lot. I love that. I love owning my own company, so that's really cool. I
Right.
love that something that I've done my entire life has paid off to what I get to do for a career, a passion. I don't look at it as a job. I look at it as a passion and a privilege. I get to honestly serve, say, like I said, brides are usually my number one clientele, and I make honestly such a special touch. Sometimes they cry. It's a real joy, like a huge joy when because usually the brides are the ones that really want me there, but when I can win over the groom by the end of the night by how cool the painting is,
Yeah.
or how good I made him look,
Right.
that's a cool feeling, winning over the grooms. But one time there was I get a lot of really nice compliments when I paint, and one time, this is gonna sound really strange, but this girl came up to me and she's like, "Hey, you're a unicorn." And I know that sounds really strange, but I took that as the coolest compliment, because
Yeah.
I kind of am, I'm
Right.
different, and that's a cool feeling. But she
Right.
meant it in the best way possible. So
No, absolutely. And you're
yeah.
so sociable and approachable and all that. Like, you don't need to, we don't need to rope you off and, stay away from him. You can have people can have conversations with you, and
yeah,
you connect with the crowd, because people were definitely vibing with you and your, how welcoming you were and everything. So
yeah, no, definitely. I hear that a lot, and that's why I stick out and I've done so well. Because most artists, they are not sociable, or I pride myself in, honestly, my setup. My setup is very clean. I wear nice suits when I paint because I'm very clean and orderly, and
right, you're kind of like
yeah.
you're coming like a guest to the wedding. It's
Yeah.
just right.
Yeah.
Really hard question here, but
Yeah.
is there a certain wedding or event that has stood out to you that you would say, that was probably one of my favorite events I've done?
Yeah. So doing this for such a long time, I've been to some amazing places, some amazing people's weddings and events, and I've been really privileged to go to weddings that cost millions of dollars, and
Right.
I'm just honestly another fly on the wall. But over time, as cool as those have been, I think honestly the ones that stand out the most to me are the ones where the bride and groom really appreciate, they're really sincere about their appreciation of what I do for them, and how much of an impact I've made in their day, and that when I get the hug from the bride, typically when they're so ecstatic for my painting, or
Yeah.
I think honestly last weekend was really cool. That was really great because everyone loved it. There was this one family over the years that I painted for, I think, every single daughter. One daughter they loved so much, the parents hired me for the next daughter, and I painted 3 of their daughters' weddings,
Oh,
which
wow.
is really cool.
Yeah.
So that's really neat. And basically at the third wedding, I was part of the family where I was going to the after party and stuff, hanging out with them, and that was really neat. That was in Alabama, so they were nice Southern people that had nice charm.
Right.
There was this judge. I painted both of his daughters up in D.C. and one in Tampa at a nice golf course, and that was really neat. That was really special. I don't know. I can't really pinpoint. I've had 2 of my cousins hire me. One was in Rhode Island and the other was in Massachusetts, and they flew me up for that, so that was really special. I don't know.
So you're like a guest and a painter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's It's
Right.
I can't pick just one. There's
Right,
so
right.
many special ones for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a few that stood out too. That's good.
Yeah, yeah.
It's, you're building memories and you're
sure.
working for yourself, which is always nice,
Yeah, like definitely for sure. It's not necessary for me anyways. It's not necessarily like how extravagant, how cool looking the venue or the wedding is. It's for me, I think what makes any wedding special to me, like, or memorable is when the bride and groom really love it,
All right, Jacob, thank you so much for coming out to
Yeah,
talk to us
of
and
course.
doing this and inviting me out to one of your events. That was very special to, share that with you. That's all the time we got today. We'll catch you on the next one, and I will put Jacob's information down below. You can check out his website, his Instagram, scroll through because his stuff is really cool. You get all the reaction videos he posts on there and the little
Yeah.
reels and stuff. It's a lot of fun to scroll through, but thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for sticking around to the end. I appreciate you watching. Please give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions about Sarasota, Florida real estate, please give me a call, text, or email. I'd be happy to chat.